When we talk about what women really want in bed, most people jump straight to technique. They obsess over positions, timing, or tricks. But here's the truth. None of that matters if you don't first create emotional connection. And no, I don't mean some heavy, candlelit, hours-long soul-baring therapy session. I mean presence. I mean the ability to make her feel like, in that moment, nothing else in the world exists but the two of you. Because for a woman, sex is not just a physical act. It's not just about friction and climax. It's about feeling chosen, feeling seen, feeling safe. That's the craving that rarely gets voiced because it sounds too vulnerable to say out loud. I want you to look at me like I'm the only person in the room. I want to know that you're not just here for release, but because you can't help but be drawn to me. That's the secret whisper behind every touch. Think about it. If a man goes through the motions without genuine presence, she feels it immediately. She feels when he's distracted, when he's doing something just because he read it in an article, when his body is there but his mind is somewhere else. And what happens? She shuts down. The walls go up. Her body might be there, but her desire isn't. On the other hand, when a man brings his full attention, when every kiss, every movement says, I'm with you, I'm here, I'm not rushing, I'm not anywhere else, that's when she melts. That's when trust floods in. That's when she feels free enough to open up, to surrender, to let go of the thoughts that normally cloud her mind. And here's the paradox. Most men think they need to impress with performance. They think, if I do this right, if I last long enough, if I pull out some crazy move, she'll be satisfied. But what really satisfies her is not performance, it's presence. Because presence tells her, you're not interchangeable. I'm not just having sex. I'm having sex with you. Now, does this mean you don't need skill? Of course not. But skill without connection is like fireworks without oxygen. It just fizzles out. Connection is the oxygen. And it doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts with how you look at her across the table, how you touch her hand before the kiss, how you listen when she speaks. It starts in the little moments where you show her, I see you, I value you. That's the foreplay she craves most, even if she never admits it. And when you get this right, everything else flows naturally. She'll trust you more. She'll be bolder. She'll tell you what she likes. She'll take risks with you. Why? Because you've created a foundation where she doesn't feel judged, doesn't feel objectified, doesn't feel like she has to perform. You've given her the gift of safety, and safety unlocks desire. So if you want to know what women crave in bed, start here. Not with a move, not with a trick, but with the willingness to be fully present. Let her feel that when you're with her, you're nowhere else. And if you do that, not only will you satisfy her physically, you'll create an intimacy that she'll remember long after the lights are out. Confidence is one of those things women secretly crave more than almost anything else in bed. But here's the catch. It's not the loud, showy, chest-thumping kind of confidence. That kind of energy actually pushes her away. What she wants is quiet certainty, the kind of presence that says, I know what I'm doing, I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it. Because confidence is magnetic, but ego is repellent. See, ego is about making it all about you, your performance, your pleasure, your need to be seen as the man. Confidence, on the other hand, is about creating an experience where she feels taken care of. Ego wants applause. Confidence doesn't need it. Ego seeks validation. Confidence already has it. And the difference shows up in the smallest moments. When you kiss her, do you hesitate, second-guessing yourself, or do you lean in with certainty? When you touch her, do you ask permission with your eyes every 2 seconds? Or do you trust that the energy between you has already given you the green light? Women can feel that difference instantly. And here's the beautiful irony. Confidence without ego doesn't just make her more relaxed. It makes her braver. When she feels your steadiness, she'll meet you with her own. She'll let herself go further, surrender more deeply, because she senses she's with someone who can handle it. When a man radiates quiet confidence, it's like an invitation that says, "You don't have to carry the weight here. I've got this. You can let go." And for many women, that's the freedom they've been craving but rarely articulate. Now, let's be clear. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's not about knowing every move or being some flawless lover out of a movie scene. In fact, perfection kills intimacy. Real confidence is knowing that even if something awkward happens, you won't crumble. Maybe you bump heads when you kiss. Maybe something doesn't go as planned. You laugh, you carry on, you stay playful. That's confidence. Ego, on the other hand, panics. Ego gets defensive, shuts down, or overcompensates. And that's when the connection breaks. There's another layer to this. Women want a man who can take the lead, but not one who bulldozes. A confident man guides with intention, but he also reads her signals. He notices her breathing, her body language, the way she responds. He adapts without losing certainty. That balance, leading without steamrolling, is intoxicating. It tells her, you're safe, but you're also desired. And that's when the experience shifts from mechanical to magnetic. Too many men confuse arrogance with allure. They think swagger will win her over, but swagger without substance crumbles the second she tests it. True confidence doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to brag. It shows itself in calm eyes, steady hands, and the ability to stay grounded in the moment. That's what makes her lean in, trust you, and crave more. And maybe this is the simplest way to put it. Women crave confidence because it allows them to feel. Ego makes them think, does he care about me? Is he just showing off? Am I just another conquest? Confidence, though, silences those doubts. It tells her she can stop analyzing and just experience. That's the space where desire grows, where passion feels safe, and where intimacy goes from surface level to unforgettable. So if you want to know what women secretly want but won't say outright, it's this: not a man who performs, not a man who shows off, but a man who carries himself with quiet certainty. The man who doesn't need to prove he's enough because he already knows he is. That's the energy she craves, and that's the energy that transforms sex into something she can't forget. If there's one thing that can completely change the way a woman experiences intimacy, it's communication. And I don't mean the stiff, clinical kind where you stop everything to ask, is this okay? Do you like this, in a way that kills the mood? I mean the playful curiosity, the subtle check-ins, the kind of communication that makes her feel like you actually care about discovering her, not just finishing the act. Because deep down, women crave to be listened to in bed as much as they do outside of it. They want to feel like their body is being read. Their signals are noticed. Their pleasure is not an afterthought, but the main event. Most men assume they should already know everything, as if asking is a sign of weakness. They think, if I'm good, I shouldn't need to ask. But the truth is, every woman is different. What one woman loves, another might not. What drove someone wild last week may feel completely different the next. That's why curiosity is not just important, it's essential. And when a man shows he's curious, when he shows he's willing to explore and learn her specific language of desire, she doesn't see weakness. She sees strength. She sees a man confident enough to say, "Teach me how to love you better." Now, here's where it gets interesting. Communication doesn't have to be verbal. In fact, some of the best communication in bed is silent. It's the way you pay attention to her breathing, the way her body tenses or softens, the sounds she makes without realizing. That's communication. It's you being tuned in enough to pick up on what's working and what's not, without her ever having to say a word. And when she feels that kind of attentiveness, it tells her, I'm safe to express myself. I don't have to hold back. He's actually paying attention. But sometimes words are powerful too, especially when they're used in the right way. A whisper like, "Do you like that?" can be electric. not because you're seeking approval, but because it pulls her deeper into the experience. It's a way of saying, I care about your pleasure. I want to know you. That tiny invitation to share turns the experience from something done to her into something shared with her. And that's what she craves: partnership, not performance. And here's the part most men miss. When you ask and listen, when you show curiosity, she becomes more open, more honest, more adventurous. Because now she knows you're not going to judge her. She knows she can tell you what she really wants without worrying you'll think less of her. That kind of trust doesn't just create better sex. It creates deeper intimacy. It turns the bedroom into a place where both of you can explore without limits. Let me say this clearly: curiosity is sexy. A man who's curious about her body, curious about what she feels, curious about what turns her on, that man is unforgettable because he makes her feel unique. He makes her feel like she's not just another chapter in some generic story, but the story itself. That's rare. And that's why she'll remember him long after. So, if you really want to know what women crave, but don't say, it's this, they want to be discovered. They want someone who doesn't assume, who doesn't rush, who doesn't rely on what worked before. They want someone who listens with his hands, with his eyes, with his presence. Because when you combine curiosity with confidence and connection, you don't just give her pleasure. You give her an experience that feels deeply personal. And that's the kind of experience she'll never stop thinking about. One of the biggest mistakes people make in the bedroom is falling into routine. At first, everything is new, exciting, unpredictable. But over time, couples start repeating the same script, the same kisses, the same moves, the same order, almost like a checklist. And while there's comfort in familiarity, comfort isn't the same as passion. What women secretly crave is variety, a sense of playfulness, the feeling that things could take a different turn at any moment. Predictability may be safe, but it's also the enemy of desire. Now, variety doesn't mean pulling out a wild, new move every night or trying to turn the bedroom into a circus. It's not about complexity, it's about freshness. It's about keeping her guessing, not in a way that makes her feel anxious, but in a way that makes her feel excited. Maybe it's slowing everything down one night, then being more spontaneous and fiery the next. Maybe it's changing where things happen, breaking away from just the bed, turning ordinary places into something thrilling. That little spark of the unexpected is what keeps the energy alive. Playfulness is the secret ingredient that makes this work. Because when you bring play into intimacy, you take away the pressure. You're not trying to perform or get everything right. You're simply exploring together. A playful tease, a mischievous smile, a whisper in her ear that makes her laugh. These moments create lightness. And that lightness makes her more willing to let go. Women love when intimacy feels like an adventure, not a duty. They love when it feels like fun, not a task. And fun only happens when there's variety. Think about the early days of attraction. Part of why they're so electric is because you don't know what's coming next. Every touch feels like a discovery. But over time, if you don't inject newness, you risk losing that electricity. Women may not always say it, but what they crave is the revival of that feeling. The butterflies, the anticipation, the thrill of not knowing exactly how the night will unfold. And the only way to create that again is to change the rhythm, to surprise her, to keep the experience dynamic. Now, variety isn't just physical, it's emotional too. It's the contrast between tenderness and passion, between deep intimacy and playful wildness. One moment it's eye contact that feels like you're reading her soul, and the next it's laughter that breaks the tension and makes her feel free. That dance between different energies is intoxicating. It tells her that with you, she'll never be bored, that there's always another layer to explore. Here's the truth. When a woman feels like she knows exactly how it will go every time, she stops craving it as much. But when there's variety, when there's spontaneity, she's drawn back in. She's reminded that intimacy with you isn't just a physical act, it's an experience. And experiences, especially unpredictable ones, are what make her body and mind light up with desire. So, what does this really come down to? It's about not letting things go stale. It's about choosing to show up with creativity, with a willingness to explore, with the courage to break patterns. It's about surprising her in ways that feel playful, not forced. Because at the end of the day, what women crave is not just passion, but adventure. They want to feel like they're on a journey with you, a journey where every chapter is different, where every night has the potential to be new. And if you give her that, if you give her variety and playfulness, you'll give her something far more powerful than just pleasure. You'll give her desire that never fades. If there's one thing that separates an experience she enjoys from an experience she remembers, it's the build-up. Women crave the slow burn. They crave the anticipation that makes their mind race and their body ache before anything even happens. And yet, most men rush. They go straight for the goal, thinking speed equals passion, when in reality, speed robs her of the very thing that ignites her desire, anticipation. Think of it like this. If you hand someone their favorite dessert before they've even had time to want it, it's still nice, but it's not nearly as powerful as when you make them wait, watch, smell, crave. Desire builds in the waiting, it builds in the tease. For a woman, intimacy is not just about the act itself, it's about the journey there. It's the way you brush her arm when you pass by in the kitchen, the way you whisper something that lingers in her mind all day, the way you look at her like you're holding a secret you can't wait to reveal. All of that is foreplay. And in her mind, foreplay doesn't start 5 minutes before the bedroom. It starts long before. The slow build is about savoring. It's about stretching out the moment instead of collapsing it. When you kiss her, don't just rush to the next thing. Let the kiss breathe, let it linger. Let her feel the weight of your patience. When your hands explore, don't sprint, wander, tease. Make her wonder where you'll go next. That uncertainty isn't frustrating, it's thrilling. It makes every part of her more alive, more awake. Here's the secret. When you slow things down, you're not denying passion, you're amplifying it. You're showing her that you're not desperate, that you're not racing to finish, that you enjoy the journey just as much as the destination. That kind of energy tells her, I'm here to experience you, not just to get something from you. And that message is irresistible. Most women will never say it out loud, but what they crave is to be unraveled. They want to feel like you're opening them slowly, layer by layer, not tearing through them like a present you can't wait to rip apart. The longer you can hold the tension, the more explosive the release will be. That's why the build matters so much. It's not about doing less, it's about doing more with less. It's about holding back just enough to make her crave what's coming next. And here's where the magic happens. When you embrace the slow build, you actually give her space to step into her own desire. You give her time to feel, to want, to let her imagination run wild. You create room for her to participate, to pull you in when she can't take it anymore. That shift from you chasing to her inviting is one of the most powerful dynamics you can create. And it only happens when you resist the urge to rush. So many men underestimate this. They think being fast shows passion, but passion without patience feels empty. Real passion is in control. Real passion knows how to hold back. Real passion knows that the longer the tension builds, the sweeter the release. And when you give her that slow build, when you let every touch, every kiss, every look stretch time itself, you give her something she won't forget. You give her an experience that stays in her body, in her memory, long after the moment has passed. Because at the end of the day, what women crave isn't just pleasure, it's anticipation. They want to feel the journey, not just the climax. They want to be taken to the edge, step by step, until they're begging for what comes next. And when you give her that, you don't just satisfy her, you leave her wanting more. again and again. What most people forget is that the experience doesn't end when the physical part is over. In fact, for a woman, some of the most powerful moments happen right after. This is where aftercare and affection come in, and it's something women crave deeply, but often won't admit, because it can sound too vulnerable to ask for. They want to feel cherished in the moments that follow, not discarded. They want reassurance that what just happened wasn't just about sex, it was about connection. Here's the thing, a lot of men will put their best effort into the build up and the act. But once it's over, they mentally check out. They roll over, grab their phone, or drift off to sleep. And while that might seem harmless, it sends a message she feels instantly. That was just physical. Now it's done. For her, that creates distance right at the moment she most wants closeness. What women really crave in those moments is to be held, to be kissed softly, to be reminded that she's more than just a body. That tenderness after is what seals the intimacy. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as pulling her close, tracing your fingers along her skin, whispering something that makes her smile. It can be lying there and letting silence feel safe instead of awkward. These small gestures are powerful because they say, I'm still here. I still want you, not just what we did. That feeling of being valued after the passion is what turns sex into intimacy, what turns pleasure into connection. And let's not underestimate the psychology of this. When a woman feels cared for after she relaxes, she feels safe, and that safety makes her want to come back for more, to explore more, to open up more. It's not just about emotional warmth, it actually fuels her physical desire the next time, because she knows the experience doesn't leave her empty, it leaves her full. Now, affection after doesn't always mean lying tangled up for hours. Sometimes it's playfulness, teasing her, making her laugh, stealing one more kiss before she gets up. Sometimes it's simply looking her in the eyes and holding that gaze a little longer than usual. The form doesn't matter as much as the intention. What matters is that she feels wanted as a person, not just during the act, but beyond it. Most men underestimate how much this matters. They think desire is built only before and during, but desire is also built after. Because the way you treat her in those final moments writes the memory she carries with her. If she feels cared for, she'll carry warmth. If she feels dismissed, she'll carry doubt. And that difference is huge. Aftercare is also an opportunity to deepen the connection. It's in these quiet moments that she's most open, most receptive. It's where you can learn her more, share something deeper, or simply enjoy the silence that feels closer than words. These are the moments where trust cements. And trust, more than anything, is what keeps intimacy alive long term. So if you want to know what women secretly crave but rarely ask for, it's this: don't disappear after. Stay. Be present. Let her know she's still wanted, still seen, still valued. Because when you give her affection after, you're not just ending the experience, you're extending it. You're telling her that for you, this isn't just sex. It's intimacy, it's connection, it's something more. And when you master that, when you carry her through not just the build up and the peak, but the moments after, you become unforgettable. Not because of what you did, but because of how you made her feel. And that's what she'll crave again and again.